Hi, fellow seekers. Thank you for joining me at the Spiritual Librarian 153. The channel got its name because I've been called a spiritual librarian all my life. I'm always giving out thousands and thousands of books, and now it's podcasts that I recommend. But when I was having a past life regression one time, I asked to find out what I did in the spirit world, and no surprise, I'm a librarian resource, so that's where I got the spiritual librarian. The 153, in one of the thousands of books I've read, said that that was the divine number for Mary Magdalene, and so I've kind of adopted that as a divine number I like to keep around. This channel came to be because a couple of weeks ago, I can't believe it's only been a couple of weeks, but a couple of weeks ago, I asked my guides when I was driving home, I was like, hey, is there a way that I can be using my spiritual gifts? I mean, I check groceries at night, and I always make myself available to pass along messages. And if a guide, or I just call them Team Spirit. If you hear me say Team Spirit, that just means like your loved ones, or your spirit guides, or your angels, all those people that watch out over you that are not in 3D form. That's Team Spirit. So I was talking to Team Spirit, and I was asking them, I always try to be open and listen to messages that people need to hear when I'm checking their groceries and pass those along. But I was wondering, was there something else that I could be doing? And then I saw this meme that would not get out of my head. And basically, let me get this right. It says, to find your purpose, you must recognize your passion. So I got to thinking, well, what is my passion? Well, curiosity is my passion. I love to learn. I am a seeker of knowledge. And what brings me joy is sharing what I've learned or what I've found out with people. So it revolves around my ability to be a resource. So after that meme came, it just, you know how it is when they talk, it just, sometimes things just pop in your head. I never ever even thought about doing social media. Hell, I don't know the difference between a reel and a story. I'm getting lessons. So, but it was like, I'm always like sharing things on Facebook, but I don't know anything about making Instagram reels. And I'm not even sure I'm doing this YouTube thing right. But it was like, how can I get people who are interested in the same kind of esoteric topics that I am? How can I get them, recommend and let them know what I know, what I've found that's been helpful or that I like. So it's kind of like just being able to have a platform to share what books or podcasts really spoke to me, or what books, just blew my mind and expanded my world again. So I'd like to be able to share that. That's the goal of this channel, is that if I am interested in all kinds of things. Bigfoot, UFOs, ancient civilizations, the Younger Dryas period and those impacts, Randall Carlson's work, Graham Hancock, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Linda Moulton Howe, Robert Edward Grant. Oh my gosh, he has such amazing podcast. I'm definitely going to do a review of his and Danica Patrick's podcast together. Just mind-blowing. Every statement was just mind-blowing. It's fabulous. I highly recommend that you check out Robert Edward Grant and Danica Patrick's. They were on each other's podcast, but that's a really good one. Let me find out where I'm at here. So I will try to cover all different kinds of things and topics. And because I have such a wide variety of interest, but they're all kind of esoteric and off the beaten path. Although gratefully, there's a lot of stuff that's becoming more mainstream. Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson's work, for sure. Matt LaCroix. Anyway, we're going to have so much fun talking about all these people. I love being able to talk about this stuff and share it. And so a lot of us don't have a friend that is into this as much as we are. So I kind of hope that we can have a dialogue and we can have a place where we just get to talk about this fun stuff with other like-minded people. So you won't like all the topics, or maybe not be interested in all of them, but it'll be a wide range of things. And I will be listening to my guides to put in front of me what they feel like needs to come out. And so I hope this channel is more than just a resource for you when you're interested in various topics and what's out there. But I hope that your team spirits will also use this channel, because we know that it's easy for spirit form to use digital and electronic things. I cannot tell you how many times that exactly what I needed to hear came through in a digital format, whether it was a podcast or a meme. Well, that's what started this whole thing, was a meme, telling me, find your passion, find your purpose kind of thing. So that's where we are. But then today, I knew that this was going to be my first effort to make a video. And so when I was checking groceries tonight, 777 kept coming up over and over. It could have been the weight of the bananas or the price of the turnips, or it could have been the total of the bill. I mean, just over and over. So on my break, I looked up what 777 meant. There's lots of different meanings for lots of different things, but what I felt like was relevant for me was that if you're being inspired, it's being driven by your guides. So that was very encouraging, because I knew I was going to try to do this tonight, and I don't want to be too critical of myself. I mean, I just want to have a good time, and I want to be able to talk with like-minded people. So let me find out where I'm at on all this rambling. So tonight I was getting ready. I was figuring out how to use the tripod and all of that stuff. And a feed came across and started playing a Bashir. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. I'm going to read this to you because I don't want to mess this up. It was amazing. Thank you for messages from the guides, because, I mean, this was in direct response to what was going on in my head. And so here's the quote from this. You don't have to make anything happen. The current will take you where you need to go. It will always manifest for you if it's relevant for who you really are. Believing you have to make things happen is resistance. Current has perfect timing. You don't know better. Even though you think you do, you don't know better. Your higher self knows best. Trust the synchronicities. Your higher mind knows. It speaks to you as passion. There's that word again, right? The meme said about passion. And now this thing with Bashar that came across tonight says passion. So, it says, it speaks to you as passion because you will follow passion. Stop talking yourself out of hearing and following your higher self. Listen to its guidance. It says, here it is, follow this, act on this, now. And this is why I started my channel, because that is exactly what was going on. I really felt like they were saying, you know, there's a space for this. Let's do this. Let's have some fun. So, anyway, how did I get into all this? I mean, I'll keep it brief, but I have always looked at the heavens and at the stars and just wondered, how can space be infinite? And my dad woke me up in the middle of the night when I was in 3rd grade and took me out to see a meteor shower, and it changed the trajectory of my life. The fascination with the heavens, I was set. And then as a kid, I was always collecting souvenir cards when we'd go on vacation. And little did I know, I was just really wanting to collect tarot cards. So I have graduated to tarot cards rather than souvenir cards. And then in 5th grade, I was at a sleepover and I saw a book I loved to read. My mom instilled that in me, my dad too. But so I saw this book, Chariots of the Gods. So I picked it up and started looking through it. And I was like, holy crap, what is this? And her dad was nice enough to let me take it home and to read it. And after that, I mean, I was just anything Egyptian or Stonehenge or anything weird. I mean, it was not, I'm 61, so it's not like there was a lot of that stuff going around when I was a kid. But that was just like... And after that, every time we'd take a vacation in our station wagon, I'd lay in the back. It was okay back then. I know it's not cool now, but we'd lay in the back, and there would be that window, that big window in the back of the station wagon, and I would just stare out, and I would just wait. I knew, I was expecting a UFO. And then after that, I was vacationing with my new boyfriend down in Pensacola Beach, Florida in 1990. And this neighbor came over and asked if I would go to the UFO conference with her. Evidently, she and her children were being abducted, and they were in Bud Hopkins, one of his books that had come out, and they were going to go see Bud. He was going to be speaking at that conference. And so I said, sure, I'll go. And I went, but I never did see her. But when I went, Dr. John Mack, he's a Harvard professor. I'm sure if you're familiar with any of this stuff, you'll know John Mack's name. But if you don't, we will cover him, so don't worry. So John Mack, he's a Harvard professor, and he was talking and researching people who had been abducted and what all the repercussions of that were and are. And so he kept talking about Zachariah Sitchin, the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, Nibiru. I'm like, I have never heard any of what? Well, by the end of John Mack's talk, I went out and bought every one of Zachariah's books. There was a really cool New Age bookstore across the bridge, and I cleaned them out as Zachariah's books. So I started reading this book while we were on vacation. And on the drive back to Kansas City, which is several hours, I start telling this fairly new boyfriend of mine about that there's this planet, and it goes around a 3,600-year orbit, and there were beings from it that came to Earth to mine gold to save their planet, and then they created us through genetic engineering to kind of be slaves. Man, here we are. Yeah. Well, he said I was crazy, so I asked him just to read the first book, if he'd just read the first book, and then we could talk. So he did. To his credit, he did. And then we both devoured them. And we started going to conferences where Zachariah was, and then we got to travel the world with Zachariah and go see amazing sites like Malta and Yeah, those were amazing times. So got interested in that. Lived on Pensacola Beach when there were all the Gulf Breeze sightings in the 1990s. And we saw UFOs all the time. I mean, there was a time where this orange ball, we saw it fly over the sound. Then there was another one and another one and another one. And we look up, and about a half a block from where we were walking, and that was weird. I wanted to take a walk at midnight. He's like, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's just go walk. And then these orange balls start flying across the sound. Look up. They're covering the water tower. They're just these orange balls and this black mist, so black that it blocks out the water tower. And there's these blue lights beaming down. And I'm just like, are you seeing this? And he's like, I'm seeing it. Are you seeing it? And then we kept watching our watches before phones. So we had watches and for missing time, because he and I had an experience in Kansas City where we had 24 hours of missing time, but that's a story for another time. But so there's these orange balls just doing this, and we're walking closer. I'm not sure why, but we're getting closer and closer, and there was a huge party on the deck of one of the beach houses. And so I went over there and I'm like, are you guys seeing this? And they're like, yeah, we're seeing this. We're seeing this. And the next day it was actually in the paper. So many people saw those orange balls flying across. And then they blinked out one by one and the mist was gone. And then we saw blue balls all the time off the coast. We saw ships go in the water and come back out of the ocean. Yeah, it was crazy. But I did not mean to get all off on that tangent. Hang on, let me find out where I was going with all that. So anyway, I'm going to, my first review, just in honor of Zachariah Sitchin, is going to be on the 12th planet. The Lost Book of Inky is actually my favorite book of his. It's so poetic. It stays with you and it invades your dreams. And it's, yeah, we'll cover the Lost Book of Inky. But since it all kind of began as an adult with the Zachariah, the 12th planet, that I want that to be the first review. So stay curious and learn something new every day. And I'll see you next time, Seekers.